Hello, and welcome. Now let's have a little chat, shall we? We all adored Lucille Ball. What's not to love? That fiery red hair, that impeccable comic timing, the way she turned a grape-stomping vat into pure, unadulterated chaos. She was, and still is, the undisputed queen of comedy. To understand Lucille Ball's journey, we have to start with a name that was more than a name. It was an institution, a name from the Mount Rushmore of Hollywood legends. Clark Gable, yes, Clark Gable, the undisputed king of Hollywood. For an entire generation, he was the pinnacle of masculine charm, the roguish hero with a heart of gold. We all know him as Rhett Butler, but his reign began long before, defining an era with his magnetic presence. He was a titan, the kind of star whose orbit could pull anyone in. And then there was Lucy. In the early 1940s, she was not yet the television icon we remember. She was a hard-working, fiercely ambitious contract player, often dubbed the Queen of the Bees. This wasn't an insult. It was a testament to her reliability and grit within the rigid studio system. She was the dependable star of second features, the actress who always delivered, hungry for that one role that would catapult her to the A-list. She was a professional, navigating a world where a woman's career was often at the mercy of powerful men and public perception. Their worlds collided in 1942 on the set of the MGM drama. On paper, it was a standard wartime picture, but on screen, something else was happening. The chemistry between the grieving, world-weary war correspondent played by Gable and the tough-as-nails showgirl played by Ball was palpable. It was electric. They looked magnificent together, a Hollywood dream pairing that seemed almost too perfect. The camera didn't lie. It captured a spark that felt genuine, a connection that seemed to leap right off the screen. And in the high-stakes world of Golden Age Hollywood, on-screen sizzle almost always fueled off-screen speculation. The gossip columns, powerful engines of public opinion, lit up almost immediately. Whispers turned into printed rumors, suggesting the connection wasn't just for the cameras. The story went that their intense on-screen dynamic had spilled over into a brief but passionate real-life fling. It was a tantalizing narrative. The king of Hollywood and the ambitious queen of the bees finding a secret moment of connection. But to understand the rumor, you have to understand the context. It is absolutely crucial. Earlier that same year, Gable's life had been shattered. His wife, the brilliant actress Carole Lombard, was killed in a plane crash while returning from a war bond tour. Gable was utterly devastated, a man hollowed out by grief. He was reportedly so distraught that he initially refused to complete the film, which had been paused after the tragedy. He was adrift in a sea of loss, and the entire industry watched with bated breath. This is where the narrative splits. Some accounts from the time paint Lucy as a source of comfort. A warm, funny, and deeply supportive presence on a difficult set. She was known for her professionalism and her ability to lighten the mood with her humor. Could she have offered a shoulder for the grieving superstar to lean on? It's possible, but there's another critical piece of context. Lucy was a newlywed herself, having married the fiery Cuban bandleader Desi Arnaz in 1940. Theirs was a famously passionate and tumultuous relationship, and she was deeply in love. So, what's the truth? This is where biographers and historians step in, sifting through the evidence. Warren G. Harris, in his Gable biography, acknowledges the talk, but concludes there's no concrete proof beyond mutual admiration. Others, like Stefan Kanfer, emphasize Lucy's unwavering focus on her career. She was fiercely ambitious and smart, a dalliance with a grieving, mega-famous, and recently widowed star. While she herself was married, wasn't just risky. It could have been career suicide in an era governed by morality clauses and studio-controlled narratives. It was a line she was unlikely to cross. Ultimately, the case for an affair collapses under the weight of what isn't there. There are no love letters, no revealing diary entries, no smoking gun photograph. Lucille Ball herself never, not once, admitted to anything more than a professional relationship. In her own accounts, she framed their connection as one of colleagues and perhaps friends who supported each other through a difficult production. She spoke of him with respect and admiration, but never with the language of a former lover. The tantalizing image of Gable and Ball endures, a footnote in the sprawling mythology of Hollywood's golden age, but without a shred of proof, it must remain exactly that, folklore. It's a fantastic rumor, a story that's compelling precisely because it brings together two legends at a moment of intense vulnerability and ambition. It's a story filed permanently under unverified, but as the lights dimmed and the credits rolled, you can't help but wonder, can you? As Lucille Ball navigated the treacherous waters of Hollywood stardom and a turbulent marriage, another name entered her orbit. This wasn't just any name, it was one of the biggest in the entire industry, a titan of the silver screen. A man who seemed to defy gravity, who blended athleticism with artistry, and who revolutionized the movie musical. A man who could dance on air, Gene Kelly. By the early 1940s, Kelly was an unstoppable force at MGM, a creative powerhouse known for his relentless work ethic and his groundbreaking choreography. He was a perfectionist, an innovator, and for any actor sharing a soundstage with him, an incredibly formidable partner. Their paths crossed professionally in 1942 on the set of the lavish MGM musical. For Lucy, this was a significant A-list production, another crucial step in her long climb out of B-movie roles. It was a spectacle of glorious technicolor, extravagant costumes, and massive complicated dance numbers. It was also a trial by fire. Lucy, for all her comedic genius and physical grace, was not a classically trained dancer. She herself admitted it, and she was paired with a master. Gene Kelly's standards were legendarily high, not just for himself, but for everyone he worked with. To keep up, Lucy had to work tirelessly, pushing her body to its limits day after day. The rehearsal room became a pressure cooker. We're talking about grueling hours of repetition. Close physical contact, not in the romantic sense, but in the functional, mechanical way dancers must work together. A shared struggle against exhaustion and the pursuit of a single perfect take. It was an intensely bonded, if not always pleasant, environment. And it's in these crucibles of creative pressure that Hollywood whispers are often forged. Soon, the gossip columns began to hint at something more. Anonymous insiders, the bread and butter of Hollywood's rumor mill, suggested a deep bond forming between the two stars. They spoke of private dinners after exhausting days and quiet moments stolen away from the chaotic set, where they could decompress. This narrative was particularly potent because, meanwhile, Lucy's marriage was famously strained. Desi was frequently on the road with his orchestra, and his reputation as a ladies' man was growing, causing Lucy immense private pain. The image of a lonely wife finding a sympathetic shoulder to lean on was a story the gossip columnists couldn't resist. Biographer Charles Hyam, in his book, paints a picture of a very close, emotionally intimate friendship. He recounts stories of Kelly spending hours in her dressing room, not as a lover, but as a confidant, a friend she could talk to about her marital woes. Hyam, however, strongly hints that this deep emotional connection might have, at some point, crossed a line into romance. But other historians like Stephen Canfor are deeply skeptical. Canfor argues that interpreting this period through a romantic lens misses the point entirely. For him, this was about ambition, choreography, and the relentless pursuit of perfection, not romance. Lucy was desperate to prove she could handle a major musical. Kelly, for his part, was also married at the time, to actress Betsy Blair. He was known as a demanding, sometimes tyrannical perfectionist on set, but he was not known for on-set dalliances. His focus was laser-sharp, dedicated entirely to the work. The intensity Lucy experienced was the same intensity he brought to every project. It's a classic Hollywood scenario. People see romance where there is simply profound mutual respect. A shared, difficult struggle can forge a bond that feels as intense as any love affair, a camaraderie born of sweat and artistic ambition. It's a connection that outsiders can easily misinterpret. What we know for certain is that they remained lifelong friends. Decades later, they always spoke warmly and with great admiration for one another. Lucy praised his talent, and Kelly respected her incredible work ethic and determination. So, did they cross a line? There is no definitive proof, no letters, no diary entries, no credible eyewitness accounts. All that remains are whispers, competing interpretations from biographers, and the tantalizing ambiguity of two superstars in a moment of intense collaboration. It's a rumor that adds another layer of complexity to Lucy's story, highlighting the pressures she was under both personally and professionally. But without concrete evidence, it ultimately stays where it began, in the realm of speculation. William Frawley? Fred Mertz? Really, it sounds preposterous, like a comedy sketch. On-screen, hilariously antagonistic, and off-screen, not much warmer. By all accounts, they did not get along, at all. This allegation doesn't come from reputable biographies or contemporaneous reports. It bubbles up decades later from murky forums and fringe circles, suggesting a secret tryst. It's a fan fiction scenario, really. Absolutely no credible evidence supports this. Biographers and co-stars confirm genuine dislike between them. Vivian Vance despised Frawley. Working together took grit. Desi pushed to hire Frawley. Lucy worried about his alcoholism. Hardly romantic groundwork. We can safely dismiss it. Pure fiction. Their on-screen magic proves their professionalism, despite personal friction. Two brilliant comic actors who respected the work, but couldn't stand each other personally. Now a different era, 1968, long after I Love Lucy and after her divorce from Desi. Lucy was star and producer. Powerful, single, in complete control. She co-starred with Henry Fonda in Yours, Mine, and Ours. On screen, warm, believable chemistry. Two pros at work. As ever, warmth on screen sparked off-screen buzz. Whispers of dinners after long filming days. Talk of a deep connection. In Love, Lucy, she speaks highly of Fonda, strictly professionally. By 1968, Lucy was in a committed marriage to Gary Morton, often present on set. Fonda was married to Shirley, famously stable, devoted. Fonda wasn't known for philandering. The timing and facts don't support an affair. Audiences wanted the movie's love to be real, testament to their acting. Under scrutiny, the allegation falls apart. What remains? Deep professional respect, maybe a warm friendship, nothing more. A lovely rumor, but not true. Our final name is perhaps the most poignant. George Burns, one of Lucy's oldest and dearest friends. For decades, he was America's favorite cigar-chomping straight man, the eternally patient husband to the delightfully scatterbrained Gracie Allen. His career was a masterclass in longevity, stretching from the dusty stages of vaudeville to the bright lights of television and film well into his 90s. But behind the public persona was a man who shared a profound and deeply complex bond with Lucille Ball. Theirs was a friendship forged in the trenches of show business, a connection that would evolve into something much deeper in the twilight of their lives. To understand their bond, you have to go back to the beginning. They shared vaudeville and radio roots, a grueling, formative experience that created an unbreakable camaraderie among its survivors. They were part of the same comedy royalty circle with titans like Jack Benny and, of course, George's beloved wife, Gracie Allen. This wasn't just a network of co-stars, it was a tight-knit clan of pioneers who understood the relentless grind, the thrill of a live audience, and the unique pressures of building a career one joke at a time. They had a shared language, a shorthand built on decades of mutual experience that few others could ever comprehend. Their friendship was built on this shared history, on mutual respect, and on navigating the often lonely landscape of fame. But it was after the passing of their iconic partners that their connection entered a new, more intimate chapter. Gracie had been gone since 1964, a loss George felt profoundly for the rest of his life. Then, in 1986, Lucy lost Desi. In the wake of these immense losses, the two old friends grew closer, finding solace in each other's company. In his memoir, I Loved Her Too, Lucy's close friend and confidant Lee Tannen describes an incredibly special bond that blossomed in their final years. He recounts how they would spend hours on the phone, sometimes daily, sharing jokes, trading gossip, and reminiscing about the old days. For Lucy, who had become more reclusive, George was a vital link to her past and a source of unwavering comfort. For George, she was someone who truly understood the world he came from. Tannen frames their connection as a deep, abiding love, but one that was emotional, not physical. It was a companionship of the soul, a meeting of two lonely hearts who had outlived so many of their peers and partners. They found in each other a safe harbor from the loneliness that often accompanies old age and enduring fame. The story takes a turn with a startling quote Tannen attributes to George. Reflecting on their bond, Burns allegedly said, "We were in love with each other, I don't deny that. If Lucy hadn't been married to Gary, and I had been a little younger, we would have been together. In a minute." This single statement reframes their friendship, suggesting a powerful what-if scenario. Yet, even in this candid admission, George's unwavering loyalties remained clear. He suggests a mutual love, but one that was always held in check by circumstance and duty. His devotion to Gracie's memory was absolute. He spoke of her in the present tense until the day he died, and he respected Lucy's marriage to her second husband, Gary Morton. For George, loyalty was paramount. For her part, Lucy never publicly admitted to romantic feelings for George. She was a fiercely private woman, and her public image was carefully maintained. George, despite his private confession to Tannen, never wavered in his public devotion to Gracie. Their story existed in the quiet spaces, in late-night phone calls and private conversations, away from the prying eyes of the public. So, was it an affair? No, not in the traditional sense. There is no evidence of a physical relationship. It was something more nuanced, perhaps more beautiful. It was the story of two very old, very dear friends, two icons of a bygone era, finding a final safe harbor in each other. It was a testament to the idea that love can take many forms, and that the deepest connections are not always the ones lived out in the open. But was it a profound, late-life love? Almost certainly. A tender and deeply moving footnote to the lives of two of comedy's greatest and most beloved icons. So, there you have it. 5 men, 5 alleged affairs, 5 stories swirling around the legend. Did she admit to any of them? The simple answer is no. Absolutely not. She guarded her privacy and her narrative, devoted, despite heartbreak, to her great love, Desi Arnaz. Rumors say more about us, our appetite for secrets, than about her truth. Her truth, ambitious, loyal, relentlessly hard-working, focused on the work, on the laughter. A trailblazing producer, a savvy businesswoman, a pioneer who reshaped television. The real love story is Lucy and her audience, an affair that spans generations. Thank you for joining me.